Good morning, everyone. It is my honor to help to open the moderating panel for today's Hotel Summit, Design Summit today. And joining me today, I'm going to be the moderator. I'm from RSP Architects, okay, here. And joining me as part of my panel, do come forward, please. I'd like to introduce Pedro from LJ. He's a landscape designer. Miquel, a tourism expert. And Naresh, a lecturer at RMIT. Okay, so today we're going to kickstart off this thing, very exciting. I think we all talk about sustainable practices, eco-friendly elements, renewable energy sources, effective waste management system. What does it all mean, actually? As you can see, I think yesterday when I attended, James Young actually said that there's actually a greater awareness by both owners, operators, and also even tenants and people who are staying tourists. Awareness of this design thinking and the impact into the spatial and environment. All right, and you can see that there's actually right now, as we move into the era here, there's a lot also awareness. There's this millennial and the Gen Zs are all coming into demand driving this movement. And then there's this talk about all this ESG that's going around. So what is this all about actually? So how do we as engineers correlate these use patterns, create use of sustainability, ways of sustainability thinking, and also very importantly, I think also to avoid what we call tokenism. All right, one of the speakers yesterday brought it up very quickly. We had something called greenwashing, and it's now called ESG washing. I think it's very important that the alignment must be there, and that we do not just really, for the purpose of some of these certifications, we go for low-hanging fruit. All right, just for the sake of ticking off the boxes, right? And what are these? But really to identify, align with the issues, with your branding, and also with the objectives of designers, on solutions to be put forth. All right, and from this we identify and design, implement, and measure. I think we're all, in a way, part of the, whether it's designers or owners or franchisees, operators, even academics, we are all looking into what we call the ESG elephant. All right? So I'm in introduction. So very quickly, I'm going to show a little introduction, bear with me, about what we do. Okay, just a little introduction of our company, and I also would like to highlight some of the things that we do and what sustainability means in the context of what I just said earlier. Okay, just very quickly, this is our company. We have 35 largest, over 1,200 people. Our offices, as you can see here, and I head actually the Vietnam office and the regional Indo-China area, Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi, Saudi Arabia, and so forth, but mainly in Asia. So this is our management team, right up there. Our practice, this is in Singapore, Capital Spring. We completed it last year. This was actually the best. We won the award for the best skyscraper last year in Asia. We are, I think it's a bit of a point now. We're actually a multidisciplinary team for architecture, master planning, CNS engineering, ME engineering, and interior design. Sorry about that. That's very interesting mashed up. Okay, we deliver landmarks in every sector, whether it's mixed use, commercial, retail, hospitality, residential, educational, civic, industrial, healthcare, transport. Hospitality. So we see hotels as hotel wellness retreat for its guests. Design creates a holistic body and mind experience to evoke positive experiences that rejuvenates the soul. Right. And I'll quickly bring into some of the, maybe I'll just showcase a couple of projects. This is something we did in Dubai. There was an Expo 2020. It was just actually carried out in the middle of the COVID pandemic. All right, and what happened was that actually there was also, if you can read, there's a lot of the usual leads, material certified and low VOC materials and all these. But importantly, what I want to bring forth is that this was also carried out, and the original intent of the property was actually commercial. All right, was commercial in office, and it was converted into a hotel And this is really what I mean by the spirit of it. We actually kept the structural systems, we kept the architectural systems. But what we did, we actually tweak, we align with the objective, we talk with the owners, what do we want to do, what do we need to adjust in order to keep that building and not to tear down and redo wholesale. And then look, I'm going to re-envision, we are not into ego building. All right? So just a bit of snapshots of what we do there. Right, simple and crazy. All right. Fresh off the press, this is the Nobu Hotel. All right, this is the first Nobu in the Middle East region, in Saudi. All right, residences. So this offers signature restaurants, and also it will be open as early as probably early 2026. And you'll be enjoying access to 80 kilometers of beachfronts, Guggenheim Museum, other bespoke amenities. So this again is actually built on pretty much the land that's actually not that fertile. So this is actually quite okay. Right, just quick snapshots. Malayang luxury hotel, again as a gate front to an island. Okay, so exterior interiors. Okay, and sustainability. So I will bring across some of the products that we do. Okay, sustainability. So designs that allows efficient use of electrical energy is one of them. And also sustainability means that buildings we also use food security. Example, farming, energy security, solar panels, water security, rainwater harvesting. What do we mean by that? Okay, this is one of the footprint that we do for our master planning practices, as you can see here, and I will not go into too much detail. All right, we look into idea of sustainable nature, water sponge cities, water management, rainwater collection, wastewater recycling, energy efficient development, solar, pneumatic waste system, biophilic designs to lower temperatures naturally. Also diverse activities in park connectors, farming, active aging, car-like behavior, right, that influences how people use the environment. All right, and also efforts parking. So permeable parking services to drain off. Now, going from that environment into a building, this is one example. In Singapore, we have this Building Construction Authority, Green Mark. As you may know, some of the other places you have Leeds from the US, you have Earthcheck from Australia, you have Lotus, I think, in Vietnam. So the various green building councils have adopted different points. So these are things that you can see that the evolution of this is that they are not looking just primarily at energy savings, but a more holistic view of intelligence, right? Health and well-being, whole life carbon, maintainability, resilience, right? So this is actually a very important part of what the government-led initiative is, and I think this is something later my counterpart here, Naresh, will talk about in terms of how I think government initiatives will do a lot to help the country. Okay, another example of this is this is not hotels, but I just thought it'd be good to showcase some of the sustainability practices. This is Gaia. Gaia, basically a name taken from the Earth goddess, Greek goddess Gaia, and this is a campus in Singapore. It's completed in collaboration, and it is what we call a MET building, mass engineered timber building, wholly structurally also in timber, and it addresses a lot of very interesting issues such as fire protection and all that. So completed also again just last year, all right, for campus at Nanyang Technological University. 6 stories high, 26 meters tall. This is actually the tallest MET building in Asia. All right, it comprises the usual gamut of lecture theaters, auditorium, classroom, seminar rooms, and seminar rooms. So you can see here that it can be aligned. Sustainability practice can be aligned with the practices and with the requirements, objectives, not necessarily at odds, but you can work together, right? And also here we look into the facade, chiller plant, right? Passive displacement ventilation, so that you do not use so much air conditioning elsewhere, where you can. Energy saving, lights, solar, water conservation, and of course messaging. I'll touch a little bit on the MET. Right, and then of course you can see from that initiatives what are the savings that we've come up with. Right, I can see the dollar notes on all that. All right, and basically what you'll see the energy savings. I can't really see from here. Right, in excess of 2 million balls a year, just on energy savings. All right, and also, can you hear me? Carbon dioxide reduction and water savings. All right, so basically what I kind of come across is that it can be aligned. All right, but initially the part is to avoid tokenism, to really align with the stakeholders, right? What are the visions they want to do? What objectives they want to do? The designers know what to do. All right. So a little bit about MET, right? These are just basic technologies, CLT and Quee. All right, and how wood is actually an effective carbon sink and sustainable material. Of course, these are challenges. You need to find the appropriate designer who can actually do this. All right, so, and also how it's actually componentized. All right, it's flat, it's easy to pack, easy to construct. All right, and also has a high strength to weight ratio. Right, construction, all that. So, just a bit more. I think this is also a platinum score and also ultra low E energy. So nowadays we're not just talking about the 3 R's, which is reuse, reduce, recycle, but we also regenerate and return. All right. So some of the buildings we've done actually have contributed a positive energy return to the energy grid actually. All right. So greening. And this is really just on the energy factor, but there's also other sustainability factors in terms of the cultural part, and also how the behavior wraps around it. Okay, Capital Green, a bit earlier. Again, you can see that this is the only most green building in the CBD in Singapore. All right, all green, naturally ventilated, parameters to reduce the thermal heat gain along the facades. All right, thank you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transition to here, to our panelists here. All right? Hello, okay. So what I'm going to do is while I'm questions our panelists here, do also come up with the questions we have so that we try to address them. All right. Maybe I'll just take across our panelists here. What do you see are the benefits of design or sustainability to owners, operators, the culture, and the environment? Maybe I did Naresh to start off.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Naresh Nayak. Just give you a brief 30 seconds introduction about myself. I'm basically from India, but I've been studying in New Zealand for a long time, but in academics, researching mostly in tourism and hospitality and sustainability. The last 5 years has been an eye-opener for me because I've been doing a lot of research in water management and to see how industry stakeholders, guests for that matter, and how do we come across water saving within the accommodation sector in New Zealand. So I have been doing about 12 months of experimental projects within a single case study motel, and then seeing how the implications are drawn. And that proposal was submitted later to the motel accommodation sector in New Zealand for a small town called Dunedin. So that's been about me. And then just recently, just finishing up, and then I came to join RMIT here. That's about me for now.
I need to allow the panelists to introduce themselves. Miquel.
This is Miquel. We'd like to thank to Hospitality Asia for inviting me, because I've been here since the first edition, and it's happy to see some familiar faces and many of you here. I run MQL Hospitality, MQL Sustainable Tourism Services. We are supporting here in Vietnam hotels and destinations on a little bit of improvement on green thinking, on sustainable approaches, and to waste reduction. So some of you already know me for a while.
Hi, I'm Pedro Pedalino. I'm the CEO of LJ Group. We are a landscape architecture firm. We work with pretty much outdoor spaces, parks, hospitality projects, and we are particularly dedicated to environmental and social questions here in Vietnam. So,
Hello, thank you. So actually, we have quite an interesting lineup today. We have two practitioners, one tourism expert, and also one academic. So again, allow me to get the questions. What are the benefits you see for design on sustainability to owners and operators, the culture and environment? Maybe Naresh?
Yeah. As a toddler step, I've been learning a lot about what is happening around in Vietnam and what it benefits. Sustainability will definitely help in protecting the nature. And my knowledge on design aspects are pretty limited when you compare to the experts here. But what we see in academics is to do a lot of research and reach it out and deliver it and reach it out to the local public or the stakeholders around, and to see how if there is a behavior change or are they willing to have a behavior change within this aspect. So I see it as a broader scope. There is a lot of scope here, and we have a lot to achieve when it comes to the industry in Vietnam, the accommodation industry for that matter. So this is what my perspective is about it, but I think the design concepts of it, I think you should be able to.
Well, I agree with Naresh too. I think the point of view, the approach, the behavior that we are founding with many of the hotels or many of the destinations that we are trying to support is that we still not ready to come to implement, or we will do it later on. What we do bring to the owners and to the customers that contact us, to the People's Committee, we tell them that the first is a benefit for the society per se, to the locations where we are, because we try to see how can we add value to the whole destination, not just only to one property, even we can go for one. So we always try to link it to the cost at mid and long term, but it is a reality that here in Vietnam is also difficult to work at mid long term because everything is at short immediate term. So that's the ball. I leave it there. Yeah.
So my views is that in regards to sustainability matters is that there's a long run there. Sustainability should be the principle, but in the current state of Vietnam, actually we should aim for regenerative projects. You see like a large destruction of forests, mangroves, etc. And what we should question is like how will we seek for a long-term vision of expansion, and how this is possible to do in a sustainable manner, but how we will be able to regenerate the environment that we are. We have seen areas, and since we are dedicated to environmental questions here, and we are landscape architects, I've been running from north to south. And what we see is that when you aim for the success of one project or another, sometimes we lose the global question, that is how we're going to see the long-term vision. This means by simple things, for example, leveling your site, or how you are creating a fence of 10 meters high in your property, or how you want to do a private beach while cutting the flow of people crossing to your beach. So I think first is the sustainable matters in a way to engage with the environment in a way that we don't destroy them, but also how we'll be able to regenerate places that is already in a very poor state of conservation. So that's some
excellent. Thank you, guys. I think what Pedro and also Miquel and Naresh had shared is that actually the content is what we actually played earlier, that this ESG or sustainability not necessarily at odds with what the organization wants, or the owners will want to do, but it's very important at the very beginning to identify what is actually at stake here, what you can do, as an ESG conscious company, what can you contribute, and what can you work with the designers to come up with something. And also at the heart of it, I think also very importantly, while this is private-led, I think in the case of Singapore, for example, where the government-led initiatives for Green Mark, for example, the government plot lands that we do mandated a minimum sustainability score certification be required. So platinum, for example. So the government leads the initiative, all right, and pays for that initiative. I think it's important. I think that will encourage, again, to signal to the private enterprise that actually these are things that we should spearhead the country. All right. Just going on to the next one, we can only say that the challenges of these, what are the challenges and opportunities that transition from academics to practice, and also the other way around?
From reading what I have read from my past literature, what has been happening around, I'll give you an example of Queenstown for that matter. Queenstown is a small place. It's got about 5.5 million people staying there, and it's a tourist destination, as you all know. So there has been a lot of talks that happen when it says that they have to reach net zero by the year 2030. But the talks about this, the initiation has started before COVID. From there, the policy making has started from the governmental level, from the local district council, district committees, and the tourism operators and the hospitality operators. So that is where the planning needs to start, and that's how they have been planned. When I go into deeper, as I read through the books and the files of what is meant by net zero for them, because my aspect and my research was mostly based on waste management and water management, so I started reading a bit more in depth about it. So they've done greater approach when it comes to hospitality and reaching out to the individual operators and to see how can you reduce waste and how can you reduce water. There are even policies based on that as to how can you achieve it. They are on track about it. They meet every year, and that's how that has been planned, and that is where the challenges can be mitigated and you can have a way forward. And by having academics involved and professors involved and students involved, as such as PhD scholars, there has been a change where they do an ongoing research, a short-term research, and then you have a long-term research where it comes and says, okay, this is what we found in the last 3 months. This is what we got to find in the next 6 months. So you've got data from the last 6 months, and then you see how can you change and go about changing these aspects about it. So I think that's how academics can play a role in this matter.
How about Miquel?
Well, the challenges I will say we linked a lot to the human resources, to the people who need to work on it, on the actions that need to be taken inside the property too, but also what is going to happen outside the property, linked to the society and to the community where the hotels are related. We do visit many hotels that we observe inside the properties are magnificent properties. You see, wow, is everything so nice inside. But when you walk down on the beach, you see the status of the sand there, or the amount of trash that we have on the water is really amazing, and looks like. This is not responsibility of the hotel, because this is the public sector, whoever who has to come to pick it up too. So we emphasize a lot that these individual efforts for some of the hotels that you are working or you manage or you do represent are very important. But we also need to see how can we link this to the community, to the society where we are too. So who can come and help us to take care of the solid waste that we are producing, or to the water waste, or what happened with your amenities when you put it in a garbage bag and you leave it at the back of the property. That is something that I think is challenging now at the moment, and we still found it in many of the provinces, that the ball is going from public sector to private sector, and things remaining there without really finding out how can we improve that point.
I guess I agree with Miquel as well. I think the challenges, at least in a developing country such here, is that the reality is actually in many parts we are keen to do that, and the infrastructure components are not quite there yet. You want to do connecting ways and green component, and many times you see the result is pretty, and immediately outside the perimeter is just that. Really needs to be done. So actually on a larger scale, again, we emphasize that part of the government initiative, the dialogue, is very important, right, on one hand, and also at the same time, when these are brought about, it must be seen as aligning and not a punitive in nature. I think that's one of the contexts. Maybe Pedro, you want to talk a bit about this?
I think the main matter is that it's been having a lot of practice. For sure, I have a construction boom that is happening 4 years. Even this year is still a lot compared to other places. But the theory, still not there. The theory is like, we want a sustainable project. We want that the space is natural, that the forests thrive, that we attract birds, that we want that this long-term vision of it. So there's been a lot of practice, but the theory needs to be established. So for example, there's a set of rules that were implemented in other countries. For example, on riparian forests, or even in terms of heights of buildings, for example, that are made in order to seek for long-term sustainable vision of the future, not only in terms of nature, environment, but also in terms of development. For example, you see, I'm coming from an island similar to Fukuoka in Brazil, that they have established that you cannot have floors, more than 2 floors in a place. I remember in Fiji, they have a very interesting rule that, for example, that the buildings should not be larger than palms because they want to preserve the landscape. So sometimes we should question the hospitality sector and also how the regulations are done. For example, if you are in a beach of kilometers away with very small constructions, then if you build a tower of 45 stories, if this is related to your long-term vision of how this space will develop. Yeah.
I guess what I also resonate with what Pedro has said. I think that the owner, whether it's hospitality or other construction buildings, it's important to actually, sustainability just does not extend just merely to, having these certifications and low energy. Also, I think, and a wider concern about, would it be the cultural sensitivity, whether it is situational sensitivity, right? So that it's actually sustainable in a wider sense, not just to say, oh, I got a big spanking building, everything is all nice and well designed, but is standing out in nowhere. But actually going along with the planning that's going forth. I think we ourselves have been engaged in some of these master planning initiatives, and a lot of time is also done to persuade the authorities that I think they are also at various angles aligned on that process. That it's not the new flashy thing coming up along, but also really looking in a longer time horizon, what it means to the community, what it means to your business, right? How do we achieve that kind of synergy? Right. Link
to what you just mentioned. This kind of certification that we do offer here in Vietnam at a different level, Vietnamese or international levels, is perhaps a tool for some of these individual owners or small destinations that they still really don't really know how to tackle. We were discussing before also that in some of these certifications sometimes there are links that they are not really as green as should be, but I think we need to start at that certain point. We were talking a few days ago that around Vietnam we have around 38,000 hotels, and less than 0.02% are certified in one way or another, and that's close to zero, close to nothing. So we try to see if presenting to some of the hotels, and I know some of you already approached me to see how can we work on that. Working on this certification can give you the advantage towards your competitors, towards other properties that they still not starting to address, to link yourself to the community, to the waste that you are producing, to reducing your cost, to implement some of the less energy impacts that can bring also down your cost. So I think is a tool that from there we can streamline and maybe improve some of this certification into the level that we want, and that's why we have also different kind of seals. But I think for Vietnam can be something informative, because I recall, a few years ago we were talking about green or sustainability, and people was looking at us like, Miquel, we don't really know what you're talking about or what's the topic. And yesterday, there were some sessions about it, and today also, and I think tomorrow there are some colleagues also talking on the topic, which is, for me, a good advance, that we're already discussing and having, the students and the researchers and the professionals coming together in a way or another.
I agree to your point about the concept of design giving an advantage, as in, let's say, regenerative hotel, which is again giving back to the community and getting the culture within the property and then giving it back to the culture, to the community as well. So that's definitely an advantage for a certification scheme. But more or less what I've seen is the first thing that you mentioned about greenwashing and ESG washing that you mentioned. So this is something that we've noticed as to what is happening on the ground, and then you evaluate and audit something that is not there exactly or needs to be improved. So that's something where I find a lag or a disconnect that might have to be given more focus on when it comes to sustainability aspects of it.
Thank you, Naresh. Do I have any questions from the audience? I've not seen any questions yet. But in the meantime, I just add on to what Miquel said, that there's a very low take-up of these initiatives. Why do you think that is so, and how do we get our stakeholders to be more participatory in this nature?
How? How? That's interesting. Interesting. We have 10 hours more to go. It says 10 minutes to go. Well, it is difficult because what I see the challenges here that we keep just taking away responsibilities from our side and put it on other people's side. So it's neither my fault, because we just bring some sample without saying names to on some luxury hotel that we are going there, and they say that we are very green because we recycle, we separate all the garbage here, all the plastic cans, all the plastic bottles here, all the cans here. We have the amenities, we have the paper, and this is just separated, segregated, and the pictures are taken, and we are doing the right way. From there, we just see the government that comes with a truck and collect all these different bags of different amenities coming into the same truck, and we just go back to the landfill, there on wherever it is located, and let's not discard any name, and we see everything just discarded there, and we show it back to the hotel. So which responsibility has the government collecting, or these subcontracted companies? Which responsibilities has the hotels per se, or the resorts that they are producing? Because depending which location we are talking about, this material will never leave the destination, will always remain there. So I think it's time to everybody take a bit more of responsibility and see how can we drive it forward, without saying, no, that's not my fault, I do what I have to do and that's it. Because the result is the same, everything remains there in the destination we are talking about.
Thank you, Miquel. I'll just take maybe the two questions. The first question, maybe I will take our practitioners, myself and Pedro. What is the difference in designing an eco-friendly hotel versus healing and wellness hotel with natural friendly? I think perhaps what maybe the question come across is like the healing and wellness hotel is a program, right? Program from the hotel owners or the operators. Eco-friendly can mean many things. It's really a series of strategies to achieve eco-friendliness. All right, they are not necessarily different things, but there are different objectives. So we actually can design a healing and wellness center, wellness village, right? But it's also eco-friendly at the same time. All right, so eco-friendliness or sustainability actually refers to a set of strategies to achieve what you're doing. All right, and many times you can find that it's actually together. For example, you talk about healing and wellness, right? You talk about environment that's comfortable with an ambient temperature, but how do you make it eco-friendly? Maybe some areas can be low ventilation, no aircon. You can actually do more greening to lower temperatures, to induce a very nice sense of cultural amenity. So it's not necessarily at odds and not different. Maybe Pedro, you can also expand on this.
I was speaking a broader way, is that, for example, you're arriving to this conference, and if you don't have the canopy of trees and you stay for a longer period of time, you might get burned if you don't have trees to protect you. and this might generate like perhaps skin cancer that will not heal you from nothing. So I think first we should question what is eco-friendly, because sometimes I question myself. For example, speaking about on the biological perspective, for example, it's quite complicated. You have, I've been requested as landscape architect a few things, for example, how you make your hotel more green, etc. And sometimes this needs some big knowledge on that. For example, you have biomes that have been established in Vietnam for millions of years, coming from the mountains from the north up to the delta. And sometimes when we're advancing in an area that is mangrove, these projects still obtain a kind of LEED certificate, etc. So I think the first point is to establish what is eco-friendly, and I think, in my opinion, should be friendly with, not with the users, but also with the nature around that is like, let's say, the legacy of time that we're going to have. And that's, you know, proven facts that might heal you, or you're gonna have a better wellness with this kind of. So this is just a point as a person who is engaged with environmental points here in Vietnam.
Yeah, I would like to add to some of these things that we talk about. Again, it also boils down to what I call the software, and very importantly, what I would term embodied ambience. So you work with what you already have. All right. For example, if you have a fantastic locale with water, with mountains and very mature trees and biomes, and we come in, and this is the question to answer the question about eco-friendly. All right. You work with them and say, look, we already have such ways to reduce it and to introduce what I call embodied ambience, but not to, for example, to achieve those points, you start cutting out all those trees and laying new kinds of roads and all that. But we work with what is in the nature to create even a better ambience. Right? Okay, maybe I just go on to the next question. We have about a couple of minutes more.
Panel.
Okay, I'm just going to. Sorry?
I do have a question. Can I raise my question
Sure.
without writing it on the screen?
Welcome.
Whatever you say, okay, my name is Paul Stoll. I'm working for Imperial Group, and whatever you said is very important. What is the owner or investor attitude towards environmental friendliness development?
Thank you. What's this?
What is the investor attitude towards environmental friendly development? I mean, do they see it? Usually the owner has a dream. Build me a building as high as possible, as big as possible, that I can make quick money. Yeah? And they don't think about environment or green design or wellness design or using the appropriate materials. They are not really interested in that. So now, how does that work in order to implement it? Is it the owner and then the architect, I mean the consultants, or the operator, which comes, I mean, in that order, or is it just the owner and then he gives instructions to everyone to build environmental friendly, without concept, without management company who is going to manage this hotel later on? I mean, how is the attitude of the investors to what you are just talking?
Yeah, well, Paul, as you've been here for long, also like me too, since I mean the 90s, and you've seen how the development is coming. I will say that what is required is a joint effort between all parties here. If there are owners or developers who want to build a hotel, and they take the consulting firms and the architecture firms and the sustainability programs from the beginning, that's already I would say A+ into the project coming. I agree with you that many, they are not just thinking about it and I want to build as fast as possible, as big as possible, and we saw here in Vietnam many mistakes that they already built that the main structure was already built there for many, many years, and after a couple of years need to go back and bring them down again because it was not properly thought. So I will say from the beginning, but it is also a fact that there are many hotels that they already in operation and they still want to go through programs to starting implement, to starting reducing, and that plays important role, of course, the management company and the people who are working there. Yeah.
So now, how is the attitude of the investor towards eco-friendly development? Are they open to it, or do they ignore it, or do they are they very nice to you and pay you big fees? Or
it is difficult to generalize, to say yeah, owners are good and open and positive about it. It will not be a reality. To say that not owners and developers are totally closed, no. I think more and more the architects, I mean, can say here, the firms are having more requests, more approaches into green thinking, into more sustainability way of building and producing, despite there are always extremes that are ongoing.
No, that's a very good point, but what happens is that since the answer is different for each case, since the set of rules is not established, it depends of the owner, but some things should not depend of the owner. For example, I mentioned this island in the case of Fiji, for example. These rules are established, so although you have different owners, some set of rules are established. Sometimes in our company, we think what is harder to find the site or the owner. We see most of the times is the owner. I see the owners more interested in sustainability matters, but somehow it still become a kind of a theme. I say, I'm doing a sustainable hotel, or I'm doing an eco-friendly, but this should not be a thematic of a hotel, for example. You should not be allowed to build in a place where you destroy the fauna, flora, and you create something that is prejudicial to the place that it is. So have tools to it that sometimes that was applied in some places that guarantee that although you have different owners, you have a set of rules that are established. Otherwise, the thing continue a little bit as it is now, that you get a very big difference from one place to another, although it's getting a bit better, but you still gonna, you don't have, we need more union in terms of it. Yeah.
Anything? Naresh, you want to speak?
Just two more questions which were there on the board, which spoke about...
Yeah, sorry, just a quick one. We get to wrap up very quick, so I think we will just finish this. Yeah.
Sure. Just about the last part, the last question, which was asking about environmental friendly, and then we spoke about triple bottom line and CSR. The world is going on with SDGs, which is laid down by the UN General Council. We spoke about sustainable development goals, where my topic today was to talk about responsible consumption. So there needs to be a lot done when it comes to education policies, where there's a lot of industry and academia interaction, and then that's where the curriculum should be designed for the students. That's where it starts. For the hospitality sector as well, there needs to be a lot of policy making and things like that, that needs to be done.
To me, I just round out these some of the questions that they're all talking about the same thing. I think importantly, we as practitioners like this, we do see a spectrum of owners, developers. We do come across, like you said, very quick. They want to get rich quick. They want to get returns, fast ROIs, and they may not understand or may not really, or they pay lip service, you know. And then on the other hand, we have very established operators, and all they say, look, I want to have this, I want to have that, and we have had the budget to do it. All right. I think perhaps there are a few ways to do it. One is probably, again, government initiatives. There are perhaps within the hospitality sector, could there be a hospitality group that comes across and say, look, we want to push for certain initiatives that aligns with these green practices, so that, you know, look, there's a label, we all look into it, and it's holistic, and it's not just paying lip service, which is very important. And I want to leave this with the last three things we always talk about with three people, right? All right, you need three things, right? The architect or designer, because without which you will not come up with the generation of this concept. Second, of course, also importantly, the client. All right, they must align and agree and go with this, because you don't have good architect, you don't have good product. You have a client who doesn't align with you, the outcome is not going to be good as well. Thirdly, importantly, of course, is the budget as well. But that we can work within the range of what, if the two are first aligned, the budget can be managed to come with various expectations and outcomes. All right, so get ourselves out. Thank you very much. I think this we wrap up today. Thank you to our panelists and for having us today, this morning. Thank you very much.